Now, I believe we do have some updates for the Twitch chat, right?
Yes, we do. Yes. Yeah. Yep, we do. We are moving on to our second match here. Justin Gruba versus Carl Schatzberger. Wonderful, wonderful matchup here. Yesterday, we saw Justin on stream with the Zygarde, Power Construct Zygarde. We got to see it go off and see this Zygarde just do its thing on stream. It was just an amazing battle, and I'm so excited to see it once again. Now, Carl, we did not get the chance to see Carl on stream yesterday, and so when we show his team here, I'm very interested, to kind of like go through with you guys and kind of talk about what we're seeing. But for the moment, the players are setting up, they're getting ready, and looks like we're about to transition over here onto the readying screen for both players. Justin and Carl setting up, getting ready here for a very exciting match. I don't know about you, Patrick, but this is going to be good.
Yeah, so just a recap. So Carl is running I think, a pretty interesting team. He's running the Tapu Koko, Scrafty, Xerneas, Serena, Ho-Oh, and Stakataka.
Yeah, Pat, Carl is running a very interesting team, and it's the first instance of Ho-Oh that we've seen on stream here at Memphis Regionals. Ho-Oh, a very, very interesting restricted Pokemon. It has a lot of potential, especially to be a wall. Not only does it have a high attack stat, but it has the potential to use Recover or Roost and get its health back, even if its health is taken down. So it's a very interesting Pokemon. Now, also, we are seeing Serena on Carl's team as well. Serena has a very interesting ability. Patrick, would you like to tell us about that?
Absolutely. So Serena has access to an ability called Queenly Majesty, right? So, Queenly Majesty prevents all effects of priority moves done to your side.
Yes, that is correct. So, Pat, Serena is going to be an interesting Pokemon in this battle, and I'm very excited to see what happens. But anyways, we're also seeing a Scrafty here on Carl's team as well, which is also really interesting. If it's carrying that Intimidate ability, which I'm sure it probably is, that's going to be doing a lot to Justin's team, potentially, if, Justin is using some attackers. But for the most part, we are also seeing a Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko bringing electric terrain is going to be quite an interesting strategy for Carl's team. It's most likely that he has that Tapu Koko in order to block things like Sleep Powder from opposing Pokemon. But for the most part, we're going to have to see how this match plays out, and we cannot forget about this Xerneas. And Patrick, it looks like the players have shook hands here, and we are about to begin.
All right, you can see it on the screen. We did see this yesterday. Justin's team, consisting of Incineroar, Groudon, the Megazord himself, Zygarde, Tapu Fini, Venusaur, and Stakataka.
That is correct, Pat. This team that we saw yesterday, being able to set up in a couple different ways. That Stakataka, I believe Justin's team is named after Harry Potter characters.
Yes, that Trevor, the Venusaur, we may see Trevor hit the field now, even though he's sitting right over there behind the camera.
So it is interesting to note, Pat, that both teams are carrying Stakataka, and it's interesting to see if that Stakataka is going to be brought. Now, if I was Carl, I would be interested in bringing that Ho-Oh, trying to get the burn on Groudon, and maybe bringing Tapu Koko along with it to make sure that Misty Terrain is not activated when Tapu Fini is on the field. But I think that's going to be slightly hard, and let's not also forget that there are fake-out users on each player's team, and there is no Tapu Lele in sight, so Psychic Terrain is not going to be an issue in this battle.
That's very, very true. Also, Coco's Electric Surge is going to shut down that Venusaur Sleep Powder onto most of Carl's team, since they are grounded Pokemon, except for the Ho-Oh.
And it looks like Carl has locked in. He knows what he's starting with. Justin picking his mons, 5 seconds left. I don't know about you, Pat, but I would be really interested to see a potential Stakataka lead from Justin, maybe trying to counter that Xerneas. I think that Xerneas is going to be giving Justin a bit of trouble today, but let's find out.
All right, we are heading straight into the game right now. We're just going to wait a minute to see how both players lead, and we are seeing we are seeing the Scrafty and Ho-Oh lead coming out from Carl right now. Pretty interesting lead, especially with Scrafty having pressure with Fake Out.
Yeah, it's a really interesting lead, but we are going to see that Tapu Fini coming out on Justin's side of the field. He does not want a burn from Sacred Fire going on to his Groudon. If that Groudon gets burned, its damage output is going to be very low.
Now we will see the sun coming up from Groudon's drought, powering up that Ho-Oh Sacred Fire onto all of Justin's Pokemon, and that'll deal some decent amount of damage.
You gotta wonder, Pat, is that Groudon carrying a rock move to try to counter this Ho-Oh?
I mean, I believe we saw a couple different Groudons yesterday. I believe we did see one, I don't remember whose it was, that carried Rock Tomb for some speed control.
Yes, yeah, that was a very interesting move to have on a Groudon, but it's more likely that we're probably going to see a Stone Edge or a Rock Slide if there is one on this Groudon.
I mean, you also have to factor in that Groudon's move pool is actually surprisingly wide because it gets access to very interesting moves like Solar Beam, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch.
So I think we are going to see the fake out here from Scrafty, probably going into that Tapu Fini. I wouldn't be surprised. I think you want to get some big damage off with this Ho-Oh here onto that Groudon. I think Groudon is going to be one of the big things to get off the field right now, and it looks like Ho-Oh is going to be switching out on Carl's side into Tapu Koko, getting rid of that Misty Terrain with Electric Terrain coming up.
Now we just have to see if Carl does fake out the Groudon. Oh, he does retreat with the Groudon, sending out the Zygarde, most likely planning to get a Swagger off like he did in the last game we saw.
And it looks like Justin just got really lucky. The Swagger misses, but takes a ton of damage from that Scrafty there, doing about 25 to 30%.
Ooh, that foul play, doing more damage based on your opponent's attack stat. So the higher it gets, the more damage it does.
The players shaking their heads there for a moment. Very, very lucky Swagger miss in Electric Terrain. If that had hit Patrick, I'm pretty sure that Zygarde would have been confused.
Yes, it would have, and that foul play would have done a lot more damage.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. So that was a lucky Swagger miss on Justin's side here. This Zygarde feeling pretty comfortable in the field against this Tapu Koko, unless it can dish out maybe a Dazzling Gleam or even maybe a Nature's Madness. But you want to be really careful when dealing with this Zygarde. Taking it down to health that is too low is going to activate its Power Construct ability.
I mean, you do also have to be careful of its 1,000 arrows, because if you do swap in a Ho-Oh, it's still going to get hit by that ground type attack.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Coil here, Patrick. I wouldn't be feeling too threatened, but it looks like we're going to see the Tapu Fini switching out into that Incineroar. I'm sorry, Groudon. Oh, man. Into Groudon. Scrafty switching out here into Xerneas, coming out onto the field.
Ooh, we have a full field of restricted Pokemon at the moment. And we'll just have to see what... Like you called it, Ryan, that is a Coil from that Zygarde.
Absolutely. You know, this is a free turn right here for Justin to power up this Zygarde, get that defense up, and once that Ho-Oh tries to start attacking, it's not going to be doing that much damage. Now that the Xerneas has entered the field, though, you have to wonder, is it Geomancy going to go off, or are you just going to threaten that Zygarde right away with a Moonblast?
I mean, I think it ultimately depends, because we have two spread moves possibly coming out from Justin's side with Precipice Blades and 1,000 Arrows. So he may actually just choose to focus in on the Xerneas to eliminate that threat.
And it looks like we have Scrafty switching in here, getting that Intimidate off on Zygarde to negate that Coil. But it looks like we're also going to see that attack drop on Groudon as well. 1,000 Arrows coming out from the Zygarde, just going for the attack. That was a really great switch from Carl, predicting that Justin was probably just going to go for the attack.
Here comes the Geomancy from the Xerneas, giving it a +2 in special attack, special defense, and speed.
You have to wonder, is the Groudon going to Precipice Blades here, Patrick?
I mean, if it does, I predict it'll only do maybe about 40% to that Xerneas, and it won't do as much to the Scrafty due to the Intimidate drop either.
Yeah, very true, Pat, very true. Yeah, and here's the Precipice Blades, and the Scrafty avoids the attack. Oh my goodness, some big damage not going onto that Scrafty, and Pat, it did less than 40% on Xerneas.
Actually, that was just over 50. That was like, it went from 222 to 110. That is just over 50%.
Wow, Pat.
By 1 hit point. Amazing. Yeah. Even at -1, it did that much.
Yeah, you have to wonder, what is on that Groudon? Probably a boosting item.
Very true. Or it just has a lot of attack investment, which will cause it to do that much damage even at -1.
So with Geomancied Xerneas on the field, that is now a huge threat to Justin's Zygarde. I mean, this Dragon-type Pokemon does not want to be taking a Fairy-type attack. Groudon switching out here back into that Tapu Fini to try to tank a hit from a potential Fairy-type attack. Misty Terrain coming out onto the field here from Tapu Fini, activating that Misty Seed on Zygarde, boosting the special defense, and the Protect goes up on Zygarde, maybe predicting a Moonblast.
We will see the Fake Out going out into the Fini slot. In case if he did Moonblast, he did not want to take another Precipice Blades from...
And the Moonblast going into Tapu Fini, Carl predicting the Protect, and that is a knockout on Tapu Fini.
No more swaggers for Justin this game. So that's, I think, it's a very critical part of his setup, being able to drastically increase his Zygarde's offensive power.
Yeah, and Venusaur coming out onto the field here in this sunlight, so it is going to be very fast indeed with that Chlorophyll ability. But you have to wonder, Tapu Fini being gone, Tapu Fini, as we saw yesterday, is Justin's main support Pokemon to the Zygarde. So the Zygarde is going to be on its own now. It is going to have that Venusaur with potential Sleep Powder, but can it be faster than the Xerneas?
Well, you do also have to factor in that it cannot Sleep Powder since all the Pokemon right now are grounded, and Misty Terrain prevents status conditions.
Exactly, Patrick. So I'm not sure what this Venusaur is going to be able to do except a potential Sludge Bomb into that Xerneas.
That is very true. I mean, we could see some sort of... I don't know if this was the one that had HP Fire yesterday, because it could try and call something coming in, but I do believe that, like you said, Sludge Bomb into the Xerneas is most likely the safest play.
Yeah, that would, and here we go. We do see the Venusaur getting that Sludge Bomb off. Will it be enough? It will not be enough. Moonblast coming out from the Xerneas, probably going into that Zygarde slot.
Oh, there goes that Zygarde. Even at +1 from the Misty Seed, it cannot withstand a +2 Moonblast, boosted by Fairy Aura.
Not enough, and it looks like Snarl coming out from that Scrafty there, lowering the special attack of Venusaur, so that Sludge Bomb is going to be doing even less now. Justin looking a little afraid there for the moment, trying to have to figure out what he needs to do in this Game 1. Potentially even thinking about his Game 2. It looks like he did not bring that Stack Attack to counter that Xerneas, so, you might be thinking, do I bring Stack Attack Game 2?
That is very true. I mean, it could pay off. It does counter that Xerneas if it can get a Gyro Ball off, which will deal massive amounts of damage, maybe even get a knockout. However, you do have to consider that there are Pokemon like Scrafty that is a fighting type that threatens that Stack Attack with a ×4 weakness.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. And I would be afraid of that Scrafty if I was a Stack Attacker, but for right now, focusing on this battle, I think a Sludge Bomb, if that Xerneas doesn't protect, is a great choice, and then I think potential Precipice Blades into that Scrafty, or even a Fire Punch to potentially get a burn would be and we do see the match forfeit there, and I believe that was Justin. Yeah, Justin forfeiting there, and our good friend Carl getting the win. What a great Game 1. That Zygarde just going down, not being able to put up much of a fight against that Xerneas. So we're going to have to see how he readjusts for Game 2. And if I'm Carl, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that bringing Xerneas in this Game 2 is going to be Carl's big thing. And having a Ho-Oh in the back could be a potential, win as well. Preserving your restricteds is something that we saw yesterday, and it's a really great strategy to be able to have your restricted Pokemon in the back to bring them out and then do the damage they need to do in order to win the game. We could be potentially seeing this Ho-Oh in the back for this next game for Carl and just leading with that Xerneas right away. But that does mean that we could potentially see a Groudon Venusaur start from Justin in order to try to get off a powerful Sludge Bomb or even a Sleep Powder. Justin already locking in. He knows what he wants to do. He's already got this Game 2 ready.
I mean, going back to what you said, he does have to be somewhat careful with the Groudon Venusaur lead, especially if he does want to Sleep Powder. He has to keep in mind that Carl does have the Tapu Koko to prevent any effects of sleep. And he will, I think, try to be a bit more offensive this game because he needs to try and bring it back. And that Xerneas being able to set up that Geomancy almost for free, only taking 50% from a -1 Groudon's Precipice Blades is such critical information because you can survive this hit and you can knock out these Pokemon with a certain amount of boosts.
Yeah, I agree, Patrick. This Scrafty is going to be playing a big role in this next game. with that Intimidate ability just being very, very powerful against Groudon, against Incineroar, against Zygarde, against Stakataka, Justin's team does not like this Scrafty. That Tapu Fini probably going to be coming in again, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Zygarde in the back this time, or not even see the Zygarde at all. This Xerneas is the big player of this game, and Scrafty Xerneas is the first lead coming out from Carl here.
And we will see the Incineroar and Fini lead from Justin coming out. Now, this is very interesting because there is fake out pressure on both sides, and Carl most likely led this because he wants to pressure with fake out and try and get a Geomancy up as soon as possible in order to start sweeping Justin's team, because as you saw last game, there wasn't much Justin could do once Xerneas got set up.
No, not at all. And, you know, I'm curious what Justin is going to do here against this Xerneas, because as we said, there is fake out pressure on both sides. So, yes, for turn 1, you can fake out this Xerneas, and potentially I'm not sure what you can do here against the Xerneas. I think Justin is in a little bit of a spot.
I mean, if I were Justin right now, I want to try and whittle down, because you saw how much Precipice Blades did. You want to try and maybe Nature's Madness, if he does have it on that Tapu Fini, to reduce that Xerneas' health to half, and so he can guarantee the knockout with the future Precipice Blades.
Yeah, I agree, Pat. But the thing is that if you get that Geomancy off, Carl can just really tear through Justin's team. That is the biggest problem.
I mean, that is why you have Incineroar, right? Because with the fake out pressure, he can try and pressure out maybe some protects from Xerneas and catch it off guard, or on an off turn where he cannot protect the Xerneas, and he can try and get the knockout.
And Scrafty switching out into the Ho-Oh, coming onto the field, wanting to save that Intimidate for later.
Ooh,
Nature's Madness coming out here.
Going into the Xerneas, dealing 50% of its HP, setting up for the possible Groudon in the back to get the KO when it switches in.
And Xerneas going straight for the Moonblast onto the Incineroar, not even taking it down to 50%. U-turn coming out, going into Ho-Oh, barely doing any damage into that Ho-Oh.
I didn't even see that health bar move, Ryan.
It really did not. I mean, this is just, how bulky Ho-Oh can be.
It's such a bulky bird. And it's pressuring, no pun intended on its ability, Justin's team, because there isn't much that so many of his mons can do against it.
And once again, we're seeing this Zygarde being brought out onto the field in the face of a Ho-Oh and a Xerneas. So talk about a potential Sacred Fire burn and a Moonblast just going right into the Zygarde. But, if I'm Carl, I gotta be thinking, I probably want to preserve my Xerneas. I am at 50% here, and if my Xerneas goes down, what do I have to answer to this Zygarde? It is a ground dragon type, and that 1,000 Arrows move is doing a lot of damage to my Ho-Oh.
I mean, I think, though it is risky, we could see a double swap from Carl's side, throwing out the Coco to prevent Misty Turn from protecting the Swagger's confusion on Zygarde, and a Scrafty coming in to pressure with Fake Out next turn and get the Intimidate drop.
Yeah, Pat, and we do see that Ho-Oh switching out in case of 1,000 Arrows. Scrafty switching in to get that Intimidate drop on the Zygarde and the Tapu Fini. A pretty solid play, I would say, from Carl. The Swagger coming out from that Tapu Fini, going on to Zygarde. Will we see Zygarde going straight for the 1,000 Arrows attack?
Oh, we do see the 1,000 Arrows. I wonder how much this will do to both Pokemon. It is not enough to KO the Xerneas, but I mean, at 35 HP, anything can KO.
And the Xerneas going right for the Geomancy, surviving that 1,000 Arrows attack. That Intimidate from Scrafty mattered, Patrick, because
yes,
the Xerneas can now get off. Such a powerful move in this metagame. Being able next turn to outspeed that Tapu Fini and outspeed that Zygarde.
That is very true. I mean, what you could do now is you could fake out either one of Justin's Pokemon. I think most likely the Fini, to try and prevent it from setting up, and then you can just go for a very safe Dazzling Gleam. In case if that Zygarde does decide to protect, you do get some damage onto the Fini as well.
I agree, Patrick. A Protect here from Zygarde would be an interesting move. If this Fini is carrying another attacking move, I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of go off. But the thing is that with a +2 special defense, your attacking move needs to be doing some damage to the Xerneas if you want to have it be knocked out. But it looks like Tapu Fini is switching out back into
Incineroar. Well, there is one thing I want to point out, because if that Scrafty decides to go for a foul play onto that Zygarde, it now will do more because Scrafty has so much less attack than that Zygarde, being at -1 and the Zygarde being at +1.
Patrick, I think the Xerneas is targeting a Moonblast into that Tapu Fini slot because we saw from game. Oh no, it was not. It was just going for a double target into that Zygarde. And here we go, folks. Fake out pressure from that Incineroar. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Protect here from the Xerneas and maybe a potential Coil from the Zygarde. I mean, this, or even maybe 1,000 arrows to try to knock out that Scrafty.
I mean, the thing is, it'll probably be heavily based upon that Xerneas' investment, whether or not it gets knocked out by the Incineroar. It may or may not make a difference because we did see yesterday how an Incineroar lived. I think it was an Icy and only did 10 HP damage to it, and it lived on 1. So it really does come down to the investment.
It really does, Pat. So I'm pretty curious here. I don't think Fake Out would be enough on Xerneas, but that's the thing is, I think there's a Protect coming out here from the Xerneas. Wouldn't be surprised. Scrafty switching out again, Protect. Saving that Intimidate. Maybe we're just going to see an attack here from the Xerneas trying to call the bluff of a Fake Out. Nope, we will see the Protect on Xerneas, protecting it for another turn from Fake Out.
Does Justin raise this bet, and does he coil with the Zygarde right now? E-Speed going out into the Xerneas, trying to guarantee that knockout.
E-Speed being revealed on that Zygarde, changing up the entire game for Carl now. Revealing a move like that in this game 2 is severely going to change how game 3 is played out if we do get to a game 3, Patrick.
I mean, that Zygarde is at +1 right now, so at this moment in time, I believe it would get a knockout. We'll just have to see, will Carl swap out the Ho and bring back the Scrafty to try and get an Intimidate drop and have it maybe be a bit of a roll to see whether or not Extreme Speed will knock out.
Well, now that if I was Carl, now that I know that there's an Extreme Speed, I probably know that my Xerneas is potentially going down. We're going to see the Intimidate from the Scrafty here, so that Zygarde is going to go back down again from that wonderful swagger boost that it had before. Extreme Speed coming out.
How much
will it be enough? And it will.
Enough. Oh. And Xerneas does go down. This is so important because we've been seeing how much priority moves such as Fake Out and in this case Extreme Speed have been coming in clutch in several different matches, and this is why people run Tapu Lele because of its Psychic Surge ability.
Yes, Patrick. Tapu Lele's Psychic Surge ability negates priority moves. But the thing is that, we haven't seen the Extreme Speed yet on stream, and it's just such a great move to have, and if you can catch your opponent off guard, there's really not much your opponent could do except trying to get an Intimidate off with that Scrafty, and it just couldn't do enough. Its attack stat was just too high, and that Xerneas could not stand a chance.
And we do see the Tapu Fini coming back. However, the Misty Surge just ran out, so that means if Justin decides to swagger, he will confuse his Zygarde.
Now, this is going to be interesting, Patrick, because you have to be careful about the health of the Zygarde. If you knock it down too much, it's going to Power Construct, and then you have the Tapu Fini on the field right now being able to heal its partner back up to full health if it goes down again. But the thing we have to look out for, and if I was Carl, I'm looking to get that burn off onto that Zygarde to just make sure that its attack stat is not doing anything to me.
I completely agree, Ryan. Crippling that Zygarde is the best thing for Carl right now, especially since he lost one of his biggest checks to it, being Xerneas. And so I think Carl is in an interesting situation because he has to sort of play around this very powerful Pokemon on Justin's side. And we will see the Incineroar coming back, getting the Intimidate drop on both of Carl's physical attackers right now, and bring out the Fake Out pressure once again to ensure that maybe he can set up another coil next turn. Oh, and we'll see the Scrafty swap out.
Into stack attack. Will we see the 1,000 arrows from the Zygarde? No.
Oh, the Zygarde going for the Protect, wanting to protect against any Sacred Fires, possibly getting a burn onto it, trying to bring back the Tapu Fini so it could bring up the Misty Terrain and then swagger it safely.
Now, this is definitely an interesting situation, Patrick, because as we know, Stack Attacker can run Wide Guard.
Yes.
Are you running the Wide Guard to block 1,000 arrows?
I mean, it is a very real possibility because We saw yesterday with Wolfie Glick, he had the wide guard Solgaleo, because there are so many Pokemon in this format, especially ones like Kyogre, that run so many spread moves, so wide guard is such a critical move to have on your team.
Absolutely, Pat. So with this next turn, with this Zygarde protecting, if it decides to double protect, it's going to be a 50% chance, but we do see the Ho-Oh swapping out. Once again, Scrafty coming in. Both players taking advantage of their Intimidators in this battle, really wanting to make some plays here and trying to get these Intimidate drops again and again and again. And Incineroar swapping out into that Tapu Fini. Now you got to be careful here because a Gyro Ball from the Sakataka would not be good on this Tapu Fini, but Misty Terrain does go back up, and we do see the Coil coming out again from that Zygarde, boosting its attack, boosting its defenses, and boosting its accuracy. Trick Room coming out from the Stakataka, so this game has just changed drastically.
I mean, looking at both of Carl's Pokemon right now, they are both very, very slow Pokemon, and I would assume, based on Carl may have a Pinch Berry Scrafty, seeing as how he's not really afraid of it taking damage. He may want it to get down to a third of his HP so it can get restored back up to about 75%.
Well, seeing that this is a supportive Tapu Fini with Nature's Madness, you can probably assume that this Tapu Fini probably isn't threatening the Scrafty too much here, as it's more of a supportive Mon to the Zygarde. So, you're not really fearing any Moonblasts coming out to hit this Scrafty, so it feels pretty comfortable on the field right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it switch out again just to get another Intimidate drop now that the Coil boost went up again. And we do see Tapu Fini switching out with another Intimidate drop onto Stakataka and Scrafty. Will we see the Scrafty switch out?
All right, but we do have to remember, if the Scrafty does switch out, this gives us some decent information, because if the Scrafty were to switch out right now, that would mean that the Tapu Fini is slower than the Scrafty.
So we did see the Rock Slide critical hit on that Zygarde, not doing too much damage with that boosted Coil. But we do see the Pinch Berry revealed on that Incineroar. Drain Punch coming out from Scrafty, going into Incineroar, taking a ton of health with it. Drain Punch, such a great move, allows Scrafty to get health back while doing damage, and we see another Coil going into that Zygarde. Here's the problem, Pat. We see a Stakataka, a Scrafty, and a Ho-Oh, all physical attackers. I think Justin here is thinking, if I can get these Coils up, if I can get my defenses up, I preserve my Tapu Fini, I can keep getting my health back and not take as much damage. Now, with Misty Terrain up for the amount of turns that it is still up, it is currently turn 3 of Misty Terrain. We're not getting burned yet from a Ho-Oh, but we're not seeing Ho-Oh because we're not seeing the Scrafty switch out.
I mean, this Zygarde has just been sitting here on the field, just coiling in front of all these Pokemon because it knows that they can't really touch it because it resists Steel-type moves, it resists a bunch of moves from Carl's side.
We do see Scrafty switching out into that Ho-Oh, so it's going to be resetting the attack stat on that Scrafty.
And the Ho-Oh bring out the pressure, trying to reduce... Oh, and we will see the Wide Guard from the Sakataka protecting against a possible 1,000 arrows from the Zygarde.
Fake Out coming out from that Incineroar.
Not doing too much due to the priority levels.
1,000 arrows being blocked by that Wide Guard. Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is a very crucial moment because Trick Room is still up. Now we do have to wonder, how fast is this Ho-Oh? Is it fat? Is it slow enough to probably deal damage, or will Carl just opt to Wide Guard to protect against another 1,000 arrows?
Well, here's the other interesting thing, Pat. We have seen the entire moveset of the Zygarde, so we know that it has 1,000 arrows, extreme speed, protect, and coil. With Incineroar switching out here into Stakataka, the castle versus the castle. Rock Slide coming out from Carl Stakataka, barely doing any damage on the field. Now, this Zygarde is only going to be doing damage via extreme speed unless Wide Guard is being used from Carl.
That is very true, and we do see the Brave Bird going into that Stakataka, barely doing any amount of damage. And we've seen, oh, the Zygarde does flinch, meaning if it went for 1,000 arrows, it doesn't matter right now. And we see, especially how much damage that Stakataka did. Those Intimidates came in clutch.
They really have. The Intimidates have just done so much work. against Carl's team. Carl in a bit of a stretch here. If you do look at Carl's team, your number of physical attackers to special attackers, you've got a Coco, you've got a Xerneas, but Coco's being run physical right now. So you're not sure whether it's a special attacker or not. Rockslide coming out from Justin's stack attacker, barely doing any damage back, trying to get the flinch from Rockslide. Gyro Ball coming out from Carl's stack attacker, going into that Zygarde, doing a bit of damage, but we do see the coil once again. That defense set, Pat, is through the roof.
I mean, you have to wonder right now, how close is it to Stack Attacker's massive defensive base stack? And we do see the Misty Terrain disappear, meaning that means that the Feeny in the back can safely come in, put the Misty Terrain back up, prevent Ho-Oh from getting burnt with Sacred Fire, and can safely swagger that Zygarde.
You are correct, Patrick. Now, the thing to notice is the game time. It looks like there are 22 seconds left on Carl's game time. So these players have been taking their time with this game, and it is almost finished. So you just have to wonder, how fast do they need to play right now in order to finish this game too? Who's going to take it? Justin has just been stalling out here. It looks like...
Is that a Shucka? I believe that was a Shucka Berry.
Shucka Stack Attack. 1,000 arrows coming out into Scrafty and Stack Attacka.
And the Shucka Berry reducing the damage taken from that 1,000 arrows, making it only half of its health right now.
And Drain Punch going into that Tapu Fini, barely doing any damage as it is not that effective. Gyro Ball going into the Zygarde, trying to get off some more damage, bringing that Zygarde to about 50%. Power Construct coming out onto the field, and we get to see this amazing animation. Oh my goodness, Carl.
The Megazord has hit the field.
Oh my goodness,
not to mention Power Ranger fans. Here it is. Oh man, and here it comes, and we do see the forfeit coming out from Carl's side. There isn't much he can do based on the amount of time he has left, and look at that complete Zygarde form. There isn't much he can do.
So that was a really solid game too from both of these players. Justin coming back and is able to pick up that win. But here's the thing, here's the big question. If I am Carl, I need to preserve my Xerneas, and I need to do it for Game 3, because if that Zygarde is able to set up like it did, I'm in a bit of trouble.
That's very true, and we saw Game 1, he kept the Xerneas in the back, and that helped him. Game 2, he leveled the Xerneas, and it sort of went downhill from there. So we have to wonder, will he bring the Xerneas in the back, or will he maybe try and bring Coco again to try and prevent effects of Misty Terrain?
You know, Pat, it's a really good question, and I'm sure that what's going to happen is that the Xerneas is going to be kept in the back, or he's going to try to get the Geomancy off right away, maybe even start Scrafty Xerneas to try to really ensure that you can get that Geomancy off. But if I'm Justin, I might be going with something very similar to what I just did, bringing that Stack Attacker, just stalling out Carl even more, but the most important thing, getting that Zygarde powered up with those coils and potentially with a Swagger just to apply that pressure right away. Since there was no Tapu Lele to bring in Psychic Terrain, Extreme Speed is going to wreak havoc on those low HP mons. So Carl needs to watch out, because if he doesn't, that Zygarde is going to clinch this game.
I mean, if I were Carl right now, I would not bring Ho-Oh, because you've seen, based on the last two matches, Ho-Oh just doesn't do too much. So many of Justin's Pokemon resist the hits, and you have the Misty Terrain preventing burns. It's just, I don't think it's worth bringing. Maybe you should bring something else to try and help check that Zygarde.
Now, Patrick, I do think that the Ho-Oh does bring a large advantage with it. If you can get the Sacred Fire burn off on that Zygarde, then you can ensure that it's not doing as much damage. I think the key goal here for Carl is to knock out that Tapu Fini. The second you can knock out that Tapu Fini, you can take down the Zygarde, and then from there, you just can win the game. And we saw that a +2 Moonblast was able to take out that Tapu Fini in Game 1 on Carl's side. So if I'm Carl, my big threats for this game are Zygarde and Tapu Fini.
Well, we're just gonna have to see how both players lead, how Carl is gonna adjust to try and win Game 3 in our first streamed match of Top Cut. And we are heading into the game at the moment. We will see Incineroar and Fini lead from Justin right now, and Carl is actually going to respond with the Scrafty Ho-Oh lead. Same lead as Game 1, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that is correct, Patrick. So we're not seeing that Xerneas leading in the first turn here, probably wanting to preserve it for later in this game. If I am Carl right now, my number one goal is to try to take out that Tapu Fini as soon as possible. Intimidate drops coming out on both sides of the field here from Incineroar and from that Scrafty.
And there is also fake out pressure on both sides, meaning that if Scrafty decides to fake out that Fini and Incineroar decides to fake out that Ho, not much is going to happen this turn.
I would like to see a knockoff from this Incineroar if it's carrying it. Most of them are onto this Ho-Oh or even onto the Scrafty. I am curious what the item on Scrafty is. I don't think we got to see a berry.
I don't believe we saw anything.
So I am interested to see what is on that Scrafty. Does it have an Assault Vest to potentially try and live a Moonblast from a Xerneas? You have to wonder, Pat.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be living anything from a Xerneas, being times 4 weak, and then you have the Fairy Aura boosting. I highly doubt that any sort of Scrafty will live a Moonblast from a Xerneas.
Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that in this battle because Justin doesn't have the Xerneas. Scrafty switching out into the Xerneas slot. You have to wonder what is going into that slot. What did Justin target?
And we will see the
Swagger coming out here, going onto his own Incineroar, going to be boosting the attack of Incineroar. Incineroar can't be burned by this Ho-Oh. Brave Bird coming out here, probably going into the Tapu Fini?
It goes into Incineroar. Recognizing that the fake out is very, very problematic for him, and we'll see a U-turn going out. I think maybe from Justin's side, he may have miscalculated the speeds just a little bit, seeing he may have tried to U-turn first and then swagger to the Zygarde upon coming in.
You know, I don't think so. I think it was purposeful, Patrick. I think that, that U-turn into a Scrafty would have done a considerable amount of damage, but since it switched out into that Xerneas, it took it pretty well. You have to wonder, what is Justin going to put in here in front of a Xerneas and a Ho-Oh? Bringing out that Zygarde could potentially do some good, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Stack Attacker for a potential Rock Slide onto that Ho-Oh and onto Xerneas, or even if that Stack Attacker on Justin's side is carrying it, a Trick Room.
Very, very true. And we will see the Groudon make its return in this game, pressuring with that very powerful Precipice Blades. Now, if the Fini is faster than the Groudon, a Nature's Madness and then Precipice Blades will guarantee a knockout onto that Xerneas.
Yeah, Pat, I think it would be enough to knock out the Xerneas. We could see the potential Protect here, though, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that Ho-Oh switch back into Scrafty just to get the Intimidate drop again, but we have to remember there is a boosting item on that Groudon, so that even at -1, it is doing a ton of damage with that Precipice Blades.
I mean, we also have to wonder, I don't think we've seen the full set of this Fini because we've seen Heal Pulse. I believe have we seen the Nature's Madness?
Yes, we have seen the Nature's Madness,
and what else have we seen? Besides Swagger, have we seen its 4th move yet?
No, we have not seen its 4th move in this game. We do see the Ho-Oh switching out back into that Scrafty, getting the Intimidate ability off onto that Groudon, but will it matter? That is the real question, Pat.
I mean, you saw last game, -1, game 1, -1, Precipice Blades did 50, just over 50% to that Xerneas.
And here is the Swagger coming out, going on to Groudon. That is going to be an even more powerful Groudon now. Seeing that we're probably going to get the Precipice Blades, will it be enough on this Scrafty? We're just going to have to find out here. And the Precipice Blades will connect, and that's Scrafty.
Is there a Pinch Berry? There is not.
No, barely hanging on with a sliver of health left. So this Scrafty can definitely tank this hit, even with the Swagger boost. But this Xerneas, I don't know if the Xerneas can take it, Patrick. It has already protected. Wouldn't be surprised to see it switch back into Ho-Oh, just to be sure that we can preserve it for later in the game if that Zygarde is in the back.
I mean, we do have to question, what does Carl value more, Scrafty's Intimidate or fake out pressure in this turn?
You're so right, Patrick. I think that this Tapu Fini could take the Scrafty out if it has a 4th move that is able to do so, or we could see another Swagger onto that Groudon. Wouldn't be surprised, but the fake out
going into the Groudon, preventing it from using Precipice Blades this turn. Nature's Madness going into that Xerneas, getting it down to half health.
Will we see the Geomancy coming out? And we will! The Geomancy coming out from that Xerneas, Xerneas in such a great spot here, going to be outspeeding everything on the field. This is critical to this game.
I mean, we will have to wonder because right now a Moonblast is going to take out that Groudon, so we have to wonder if this Groudon is choice, it can't protect.
But a Moonblast will also take out that Tapu Fini.
However, I do have the question. I think taking out the Groudon is a lot more important because many Tapu Finis don't run an offensive move, so he can just leave it alone for now in this turn, get rid of the massive threat that is Groudon that can knock him out this turn as well, and then proceed to get the Tapu Fini in the following
I agree,
turn.
Pat. We haven't seen a protect from this Groudon, so it looks like it will not be protecting if it if it stays in, and a Moonblast into it will most certainly knock it out.
That is very true, and I do believe we will probably see the Scrafty go back into Carl's party to preserve the Intimidate for a future turn to try and get a -1 onto the Zygarde when it comes in, if he still has Zygarde in the back.
Ho-Oh switching in here, so if a Precipice Blades is getting off, it is not going to be hitting that Ho-Oh since it is a flying type. Xerneas using Protect, not opting to go for the attack this turn.
I think he was baiting the possible Protect coming out from the Groudon just to make sure, trying to figure out whether or not if it's choiced.
And so we are seeing that this Groudon did not protect and went for another Precipice Blades. So one can assume that it is locked into that Precipice Blades. And because of that, this Xerneas in this next turn is probably just free to attack, Pat. And you also have to remember, this Misty Terrain is probably going to be ending soon.
That is very true. Turn number 1, it will end next turn. So, I do believe, we will see the Fini swap out to preserve the Misty Terrain, not when you get knocked out by Xerneas' Moonblast, and we will see the Incineroar to get the Intimidate drop on the Ho-Oh this turn. Now, will we see a Brave Bird going to the Fini slot and a Moonblast going to the Groudon slot? Because that is personally what I would do in this situation if I were Carl.
Yeah, I agree, Pat. Wouldn't be bad to target that way. Now, we do see the Moonblast going into that Groudon. Will it be enough? And it will not.
Oh.
But do we see the double up into that Groudon with Brave Bird?
Carl, please. Take out the Groudon.
And we do. The Groudon that has been swaggered gets knocked out. And this is the turning point in the game. One of Justin's restricted Pokemon have just gone down. And we have Fake Out pressure from Incineroar. But what can you do against a Ho-Oh and a Xerneas on Carl's side of the field, especially when that Xerneas is Geomancy boosted?
That is very true. I mean, that Incineroar does have Fake Out pressure, but Carl can just easily protect his Xerneas, prevent any more chip damage from coming off onto it, and we'll just have to see what Justin decides to send out. Will he send out the Fini, or will he decide to reveal his 4th Pokemon?
Yeah, I agree, Pat. I would find it very interesting to see a Stack Attack come out here. It would be threatening that that Xerneas right away, but we would probably see a Scrafty switch in. But it looks like Tapu Fini is just going to be coming out, so we're not going to be seeing that 4th Pokemon just yet. Justin wanting to save what he has in the back for his surprise, probably wanting to set up that Misty Terrain so that we do not have a burn situation from a Sacred Fire on Ho-Oh.
Now, Xerneas is under 50% HP, so I think we may be seeing a Fake Out, and either I personally maybe try to Nature's Madness the Ho-Oh slot, because if the Scrafty comes in, you reduce its damage. If the Ho-Oh stays in, you deal so much more damage to it.
Serena coming in, going to be blocking that Fake Out with the Queen's Majesty ability, and it looks like Xerneas is about to get off a Moonblast, but who is it going into?
Going into Incineroar, no more Fake Out or Intimidates coming out from Justin's side. That is that's a very good target from Carl's part.
Down falls the king. The Incineroar has fallen to the Moonblast. That is 2 Pokemon that have been taken out from this Geomancy Xerneas, and we do see the Zygarde coming out onto the field, Misty Seed being activated, but what can it do against this Xerneas?
I think Carl has the game in this back, because I believe it was Australia Internets, that Serenas have been carrying Feint. So if this Zygarde decides to protect, Feint will break the protect, and he can just Moonblast the Zygarde into another dimension.
I think this game might be done. We do see the Feint coming out here, so if a protect was trying to come out, it's not coming out anymore. Moonblast coming out.
There goes Zygarde, and Carl has his game in that, because if this Feint has a 4th offensive move, it can't do much to a +2 Xerneas.
And it looks like Justin and Carl are shaking hands, and it seems that this battle just may be done.
That was such a great battle, such a back and forth, seeing how both players adapted to try and gain the upper hand in the next match.
Absolutely. And the players are just finishing up their battle here between the two of them. And the match has been forfeited officially by by Justin, and it looks like Carl will be moving on into the top 4 to face Ashton in a little bit. But folks, don't be worried, because we're going to be coming back here with another top 8 match. Stay tuned. We'll be back real soon. How we doing? And welcome back, folks. Next to me, I have Carl Schatzberger, your top 8 winner, going on to top 4. Carl, how are you feeling after that match?
Good, really good. It was an honor to play Justin, because he's a really good player, and he had a really cool team. And I prepped pretty well last night. I felt like Leonard Kraft really helped me, so thank you, Leonard. Thanks a bunch, because that really helped. And kind of had a game plan, and bringing game 3, bringing Sarina was just a huge deal.
Yes.
It turned out to be bigger than I thought it could. So it all felt really good, and there were clean plays on both sides, and so it was great.
Yeah, that game 1, you were able to really take it with that Xerneas, and then game 2, Justin coming back with that Zygarde and just letting it set up. How did that feel in game 2 to have that Zygarde sit in front of a Xerneas and just keep coiling and stalling you out?
Right. Well, especially when I lost my Xerneas, I pretty much knew I had no shot at that game, because I had physical attackers. I didn't have my Xerneas anymore. And I was just kind of letting the time go down, thinking about my next match.
Yes.
So yeah, that was rough. But
yeah. And I gotta say, bringing the Sarina in game 3, what was your thought process on bringing that, especially because in the first 2 games, fake out was such an important aspect of those 2 games?
Right. Actually, my original thought process was, if I get my Xerneas down to really low health and he tries to extreme speed,
yes,
then I can switch in Sarina and block that and knock out his whatever it's called, Zygarde.
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be really helpful for fake out too.
Yes.
So that was just great.
Absolutely. Yeah, that turn where the Incineroar was going to go for the fake out, you switched in Sarina and then just moonblasted Incineroar, and it was gone.
Yeah.
It was gone off the board.
Yeah, that felt good.
Yeah,
That felt really
I
good.
bet it did. I mean, what's really nice about top 8 matches is that you get to see both players on the screen. You get to kind of see how the reactions are, and at this point in the game, both players are really friendly towards each other, and you guys are talking and really having a great time. Now, are there any final comments or shout outs besides the one you give to Leonard that you'd like to say here before we end?
For sure. So the guys I drove up with, super tight guys, supportive guys. Thank you. It's Leonard, of course, Ethan, and Josh Adams, and Drew, and you guys are awesome and helped me a lot. My VGC chat on Facebook, you guys know who you are. You guys are awesome. My wife is supporting me back home, and thank you, honey. I love you. We have a 1-year-old son. Shout outs to him. And Jesus Christ, who saved me. And that's about it.
Well, thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate you being here, and I wish you luck in top 4.
Thanks.
Folks, we're going to be right back with Brianna and Max. We're going to be right back in about 5 minutes here. And can't wait to bring you that next match.